Israel is going through a lot right now. And it's important for us to focus on what's happening right now in Israel, but it's also important to always remember the mission that Federation has and the involvement that we've had in Israel for decades. Commitment to doing our piece to be part of the construction of the Jewish state, even if we don't live there. And how we do it is exactly having these conversations and supporting the organizations that we're supporting. So it's important for us to be here to continue talking about the work that we do on a regular basis. At the same time, and in parallel, as we continue focusing in the terrible war that's happening right now since the tragedy of October 7th. To introduce our program today, it's my honor to welcome Yael Bini. Yael is a passionate lay leader, committee member for years, who in her heart truly believes in the importance of Israel as a shared society. Israeli herself, somebody who lived around the world, had multiple experiences, and yet time and again continues coming back and gravitating towards supporting the love of Israel as a shared community between the peoples. Yael lives in Montclair, and in her own words, working and doing the work that she does with Federation for Shared Society in Israel is what gives her meaning every single day. It's our honor to invite Yael to introduce our participants.
Thank you all for coming, and especially thank you for our guests from Israel who come to part of this. It's exciting for me to be able to have an opportunity for us as a community here in Metro West to hear a little bit about work that's being done in Israel. We foster all that love and care here, and we do our best to sort of propel it to fly over the ocean and do it in Israel, and that's where you guys are at, and you guys are doing good things over there, so it's exciting for me to have an opportunity for me to work and so we constructed the program tonight to have, we have two organizations presenting today, we have Hofsheet and we have Tzedek. You'll each have about 30 minutes, and we'll try to put some Q&A so you guys can think about questions if you have any, and speakers will address. So we'll start with Hofsheet. Take that, representing Hofsheet here. And so we've been a long time partner of Global Connections. I don't know how long, seriously. Really long time. Uli is the executive director of Hofsheet, the largest advocacy organization in Israel in the field of religious freedom and Jewish pluralism. Hofsheet works with members of the Knesset, ministers, and government officials to promote liberal policies in the field of religion and state, and also promote changes through municipal politics and change makers training. The organization also creates national campaigns that move the needle around public opinion on these ideas. It also promotes bottoms up about change as it conducts hundreds of Jewish weddings a year without chief rabbinic involvement, making it the most prominent organization in Israel to do so. Before this role, we've spent over 7 years in leading positions in civil society organizations and politics, both in elected and professional positions. We grew up in Kibbutz Givat Remet, where he now lives with his wife, Ayel, and their children, Uri, Adam, and Eitan. We earned his BA in political science and communications from Ben-Gurion University in the Negev, where he served as the elected chairperson of the student union, and also holds a master's degree in public administration from the university. Included his military service as a tank commander in the IDF's armored corps, where he still serves in active reserve duty. We'll hear more about that shortly. And thank you for being here.
Hi, it's I'm happy to be here. It's a bit weird to be here actually. I will talk about it soon. Um, and I wanted to take my part of this time to sort of talk about three different lines of what happened in our lives over the last 3 months. I will apologize in advance. This is my first English talk in 3 months. So I might glitch a bit here and there. And I will start by talking about what happened with my family, with myself, and with the organization since October 7th. And then sort of how we believe the next few months or more than that will look at Israel. So this, what you see here, the Hebrew part, is a WhatsApp correspondent with a friend who lives in Kfar Aza. Not now, but he usually lives in Kfar Aza, where we're coordinating my family's arrival to visit them on October 7th. It was supposed to be a joint barbecue meeting of a group of friends who shared a love for the same basketball team. And it's sort of a yearly gathering of this group. It was supposed to happen on October 7th, and I told him on October 5th that we were going to come, everyone's going to be there, me and my wife and our kids. And when we woke up on October 7th, he was the first person who we checked up with. We wanted to understand, it was sort of the entire WhatsApp group was communicating with him it was almost 24 hours. He and his family are safe. They were evacuated from Kfar Aza on October 8th at 1:30 a.m. He's the school principal of that area of their high school. His name is David. And sort of this is how this all was supposed to start for us. Of course, we never made it in time for Kfar Aza because all hell broke loose, but this was our trajectory. So for Israel Hofsheet, first and foremost, I think that the most important thing that dear members of our community have lost a lot. We have wedding officiators like Noam Dan, who lost her family members, Carmela Dan and Noya Dan, who you might remember at the beginning were considered to be missing, taken hostage. Two other members of her family came back from Gaza, and another member is still there. A graduate of our training lost both his parents and many more family members actually. One of our wedding officiators lost his son, another one lost his cousin. And sort of the entire few weeks, and actually up until now in Noam's case, it's been something that is very vivid in our experience. Noam actually now became one of the key speakers of the movement to release the hostages, and she's becoming very, very active and very vocal about that. For my family and I, this all started again with what we discussed. And starting October 8th, we went down south to my wife's parents. They live in Sde Boker. And in Sde Boker, it's relatively calm. It's very far and it's very remote, and no one really fires there. And my family spent the first 3 weeks of the war in Sde Boker. We do not have a shelter in our house. We don't have a mamad, a safe room. So it took us a while to feel safe for the family to come back. and mostly it depended on sort of our kibbutz. I'm from Givat Brenner, and sort of our kibbutz getting back into some kind of a functioning mode. I have been serving in reserve since the evening of October 8th. Just after my family came to Tzedek, we all went together. I had my bag in the back of the car and went pretty much a few minutes after we arrived in Tzedek. I went up north to join my friends and my unit. As it was mentioned in my training, I'm a tank commander. I serve in armored unit. For weird army reasons that are not really important, my unit took some of the time up north and some of the time in Gaza. The last one of our tanks left on Monday afternoon. And on Monday, around 8 p.m., I got home. And on Tuesday, I flew here. It's a very weird change in how things are looking from here and from there. It's very weird to be here, actually, and to be wearing these weird clothes that are very unlike what I was wearing for the last 3 months. And I want to say that mainly one of the things that I think started getting focused in Israel, and I'm not sure how much it sort of gathered the relevant peace of mind here, is that families of people who serve in reserve service. My wife has been pretty much a single parent for 3 months. As you can see here, this is my wife Ayelet. Adam, who's our second boy, and this is Eitan. He's being held by one of our neighbors because I wasn't there to take them to the shelter. And the very different experiences that all of us had during the last 3 months or something that I think will stay with us for a while. As for my unit, we believe I'll get back in uniform when I'm back home. We'll probably be released soon, and I'm pretty sure we will be called back again. I don't know, March, April, something. But it's pretty much something that everyone in Israel is now in a mode of understanding that this thing is going to take a while, and it's very, very important. I think also when we're trying to actually think of how these things are going to look, to understand that this is, like usually you say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But I'm not even sure that it's a marathon, because I think that it's going to be things are going to be very different over different periods of times, and mainly we need to keep that in mind. This is actually from October 7th. This is Imri, she's my daughter. And this is actually the shelter where my family goes to, which is our neighbor's house. And when I was in reserve service, they always knew that one of them needs to come back to pick up one of the kids. And I also want to say, and I'm sure you heard it a lot, it was very, I don't know if easy is the right word, but it was very, you could have felt the support that flew, some of it physically, and in a lot of other channels from here to Israel over the last few months. May that be people who came to volunteer. I saw them all over the north and the south. People who were, I would say, visibly not Israeli, who came to do all sorts of different things. I think that I saw I think that Dov wrote something about someone from your community who went to do the Gilad Junction thing. Okay, that's really amazing.
And it was amazing to be there.
It's really like the ability to know that like people flew to like do very important things that are something that I didn't imagine that people will fly from Jersey to Israel to a not very safe place, I would say.
Shh, don't tell my wife.
Okay.
You think
A very safe place.
Safer than here, right?
To volunteer again and again and again and again. And I think that this is sort of probably really the most visible thing to see. And people sent equipment and people sent funding, but to actually see people coming over, it was really heartwarming. So I will use this opportunity to thank you specifically. I love this place. And really, it's really beyond heartwarming. As an organization, we needed to switch and to sort of figure out our place. And when I say we, I'm not included in that. It's mostly my deputy and our colleagues who stayed on board. As it was said when Yael introduced me, we mostly do weddings. We needed to sort of flip the people who do that and to fastly train them to do funerals and not weddings. Weddings were postponed by the dozens and dozens and dozens. It's now sort of getting back something, but we needed to do a lot of funerals. We helped our friends. We got a lot of requests from donors, etc., people who know us, to do some kind of fiscal sponsorship and to help them find a way to support ready teams, etc., etc., to buy food that you're getting. I'm really waiting to see how the people who do our accounting will look at this year and see like where did money go, and it'll be an interesting thing to say. But really, Israel Hofsheet never bought uniforms, never bought night goggles, or just tons of foods, none of that. But this is what needed to happen, so it did happen. And here you can see our staff. And as it was written, a third of us just went to the army, and the other people held the fort with whatever they could, and through very important initiatives that I will soon discuss. So this was sort of the first time we gathered back in the office. I think it was a couple of months after it all started, but I'm not that sure about the date. One of the things that we needed, unfortunately, to do as an organization is to move forward and to sort of go back to the things that we usually do. One of those was, unfortunately, again, trying to figure out how come the government stopped the public transportation on Shabbat. So I don't know if you saw it, but for the first 4 or 5 weeks, I'm not sure, the country functioned on Shabbat as a regular day because we needed that to happen. And due to political pressures, at a certain point, they just stopped, which I can tell you from my own experience in the army, is just something that you can't really handle. Like, we need to get people to come back to the army on Shabbat. Sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's not. And we sort of just opened up a form and asked people to report to us what did that mean for them as soldiers. And you can see the numbers. They're just heartbreaking for me because it took us a while to understand that, yeah, we are an advocacy organization. We paused a lot of that for a while, but we just needed to come back to doing exactly that. And you see that, like, people were just stuck without solutions for really purely political reasons. There isn't any other explanation for that. So one of the things that we then did was help those people petition the court. And we did that with dozens of soldiers, mainly reservists and people who are the parents of those soldiers who eventually took the burden on themselves to help their kids get back to the army or go home. And unfortunately, it's something that we needed to do. But it's an ongoing process, and I think it'll at least get them to rethink their very weird decision making that made the government stop it really at the heart of the war. So another thing that I believe that did travel because it made a lot of news is the case of the late Sagi Golan. Sagi Golan fell on October 7th. He was a member of a special unit, specifically a police unit. It's not that important. And his partner, soon to be husband, wasn't really like being taken into consideration in the process of his falling. That moved forward an unprecedented legislative move that is now recognizing same-sex couples as people who are able to be recognized as the spouse of a fallen soldier. There was another case of someone who was murdered on October 7th in the Nova Festival and was buried outside of the fence because they weren't sure of her Jewish identity. And I'm talking about those cases because I think in the case of the late Sagi Golan and his partner Omer Ohana, those instances actually made people understand that some things can't and shouldn't wait for sort of after the war we will figure it out. Some things need to happen now. And I think that this is something that we all need to keep in mind because it's very, like for me when we need to focus on issues like public transportation on Shabbat, it was like, I don't want to do this now. I just have no intention of actually going back to practicing everything that we need to practice. But then again, it's just the situation and it was. Another thing that made, I think, I'm not sure if the most headlines, but a lot of that was the issue of the amazing abilities shown by female combat soldiers on October 7th and from October 7th on. And this was, and I think that when I'm saying was, I stand behind it. It was an issue that people called it a divisive issue in Israeli politics, the role of women in combat units. Mainly because now, like a lot of questions are just over and done with. There's no longer questions about their abilities, there are no longer questions about what will they do when combat arrives, etc., etc. And after saying that, unfortunately, we still have to acknowledge the fact that there are still organizations from mostly the religious side of our map who are pushing the idea that, yeah, maybe they did their part, but we need to understand that it's still a problematic issue. So another thing that, again, probably crossed the ocean a bit is the decision not to close governmental ministries who are amazingly costly in a time in which we need every piece of money that we have. And there was a very strong public push to close all those ministries. It did not happen. And I want to say something important because some of the times when we're talking about things that happen in Israel, like the timeline is important. These are all decisions being done after October 7th, okay? This is after everything that happened, and this is after what the country is going through, and still we need to work to understand how come this is what the government is doing. And so the last thing that really happened right now is that they're trying now to amend the 2024 budget, which generally is a good thing. And while everything is going on, they decided to do a flat reduction of all the ministries, health ministry, welfare ministry, everything. And again, as a country that does have now much more security needs, we do need more money. It cannot happen while still there are political funding happening at the amounts that are happening. And three things that I think you need to keep an eye on. First of all, we do have municipal elections in less than 2 months. It's something that we've been working on for a while. It should have happened on October 30th. You probably hear about it also from our friends here who also have a lot of programs around that. It's going to happen, okay? And those are elections for 5 years, and it's probably going to be the first time in which Israel engages in politics directly after October 7th. It's scheduled for February 27th. After that, important to understand, hopefully, and this is my opinion, we will need to go to elections, and we will need to go to elections soon. There is a very strong public sentiment that is leading a discussion that is sort of in the day after the war, but I think that as I started, we need to understand that the day after is very far. I'm not very sure of like how this even looks, but this is the next thing. And the last thing that I want to say that I think we need to keep our eyes on, I'll skip this one, is that probably we believe that there are going to be very strong sentiments on two things in Israel. One is a sincere and important and strong sense of unity, but on the other hand, a very strong feeling that we cannot go back to what it was. Things in Israel will need to change. I think we just need to do it. We can't go back to sort of putting aside things that have been waiting for decades now, and that we saw, unfortunately, during the worst time of our lives, that are hitting us in the back when we need it the most. This is it, I think, right? And this is from last week when I came back with my boys. And this is sort of what I keep in mind, that this is why we're doing what we're doing. And we need to win the war, but we also need to plan our future. This is it.
We have questions. We have a few minutes for questions. If anybody has a question.
Hi. So when we visited Israel, you came and spoke to us about your movement and your organization. And a number of the things that you mentioned to us are things that you highlighted here. So my question is, these were things you were going to fight for. Remember that you were going to talk about, talked about the transportation on Shabbat, you talked about the rights of the LGBTQ community, and a number of things that you mentioned. So are you saying that these were already in place and these are examples of them because you weren't able to go and appeal them because you were talking about going to the courts? Or did you go and they were turned down? Like, what happened since we heard you present how you were going to fight for these things, and now all of a sudden you're talking about how they became real issues right after the war? Just fill us in on that piece.
I think that a lot of the issues that we were working on, I'll give you the opposite example. Okay, so issues of weddings outside of the rabbinut became somewhat relevant, but not really. But some of the issues that we've been working on became highlighted. Again, unfortunately, I didn't think that it's going to happen, and I didn't think it's going to be something that we will need to deal with. But I also think that as a lot of people, mainly from our government, is trying to push an idea of now is not the time to discuss anything that is not comfortable for them. We need to live in the country that we live in and that we fight for. And some things made a lot of progress. if I would have pulled the normal presentation about public consultation on Shabbat, I would have shown you that now in Israel you have 1.5 million people who live in cities that operate public consultation on their own. So the push is happening. The thing is that as war broke, we understood that things that aren't functioning on a daily basis are becoming just much more. I needed to get my commander from the north to the south on Saturday because this is what I needed to do. And when we tried to figure out how it's going to happen, the answer there was that we're not really sure like how do you operate it. And eventually we took our own cars because we needed to do it. It's not the way it should work. So I think a lot of those issues were moving forward, and unfortunately we encountered them in much bigger scale after October 7th.
And I think we have time for one more question. Ready, please? You raise your hand, sir.
It's a quick question. Do you think the unity will last? And have you seen any breakdown in unity between right and left so far? Or I mean, your last slide, you said, it's going to continue.
I think that it's going to continue in a way of. I think it's going to continue in a way because there's a very strong public sentiment for that, and that's a good thing. I do think that on a parallel track, it's like some will try to use that is to, okay, so now let's not discuss anything of content. And I think that that's just something that we can't do. And I also think that there's going to be a very strong public sentiment on the other side. I'll just give you one brief example that we didn't discuss here. The case just before war broke, the government was supposed to discuss the exemption of the ultra-Orthodox society from the army. It's not going to be the same. It's just like the discussion is going to get back on the table, and it's going to be a very heated discussion, I think, is the.
Do you think it'll be heated in favor of him serving or not in favor of him serving?
I think it's going to be heated in a way that people are just not going to accept the fact that I know now that my boys were almost 3 in 1 month, and that my daughter, who is 7, almost 8, will go to the army, and that some people just know that their kids won't. I think it's just some things are just not going to be accepted anymore by the broader public, and I think that also with all that's going on, people are going to be less receptive of the you need to wait and let it sort of sort its way out on its own.
But now there are several ultra-Orthodox units, right? There are people that have been enlisted on their own. Is that accurate? I know I've read that.
Less people
Less than you think.
that came from my high school. Okay, so it exists. It's nowhere near anything, and I think that the broader idea, and again, it's becoming philosophical, but it's a citizenship thing. People are citizens of the same country. I think that they need to enjoy all the rights. It's just that they need to be part of society. It's just, I think that those things are going to be, again, even from a unity point of view, I think that it's just not going to be something that people continue to accept. You wanted to say something?
A comment, then a question. Just Israel's story, the English language version, has a great podcast about Sadi Golan and his boyfriend's effort. If anyone wants to get more details about that. So my sense is that you're advocating for a complete separation of government and religion in Israel. If not, correct me, but how do we preserve Israel as the Jewish state outside of the government? What's your thinking about preserving that and building it without relying on the government and institution that helps create that?
So I'll say, so one of the things that you will never hear me say as a term is a separation of church and state. I think it's an American term, like good for here. I think that in Israel, I'll give you a brief example, okay? I don't have anything against public funding for a Bet Knesset. I think it's fine. It's a service that people care about. I just think that when the idea of that becoming something that is legislatively prominent in every aspect of your life, I think that Sagi Golan and his partner, they need to enjoy all their rights. And to be frank about it, I don't really care about how different rabbis feel about it. I don't feel that there is a need to convince them that people need to enjoy equal rights. And I think that the thing is that in one of my previous visits, I think I was here just before Hanukkah, and I don't remember who I talked to. I told them, listen, if I was in Israel, when I'm in Israel doing Hanukkah, I think I'll have, on average, tell me if you see, probably 3 candle lightings a day. I'll have it in my workplace. I have it in my kids' kindergarten. I have it with friends. I have it with their kids' friends, with my wife's friends. Every other day. I don't think that there is any real challenge in a country that is almost 80% Jews to the Jewish character of the country. I think that the Jewish character is different in how I perceive it and how a small minority of the country perceives it. And usually I try and I quote Forrest Gump, who, if you remember, when his mom told him, he came back home and told his mom that the kids told him that he's stupid, and he said that stupid is what stupid does. Then I think that Jewish is who Jewish does, and I live in a country in which most Jews are, their Jewishness is more similar to mine than to an ultra-Orthodox rabbi. 70% of people drive on Shabbat. So we should have public transportation. I don't think that it contradicts the Jewish country at all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I love the conversation, and this is proof to just how centric these topics are to Israel on any day of the year and even at wartime, apparently. So our second speakers tonight will be from Tzedek Centers. Tzedek Center is a relatively new partner of ours in Global Connections. This year, I believe, is the first year that we are collaborating together. However, they are quite large national organization in Israel with activities in lots of different places, which they will share with us shortly. So I will present you our team here. We have Izzy Zarkamon, founder and co-executive director of the Tzedek Center movement, a member of the Hashomer HaTzair educators kibbutz in Harish. Izar has devoted his entire adult life to education and community organizing, following years of building the movement's foundation. Today, Izzy is leading the Tzedek Centers onward into significant expansion and through new challenges. There will be a lot of interesting context on that related to current state. We also have Maya. Maya is the Frontline Cities Department Director, currently leading the establishment of the 3 new Tzedek Centers in Ofakim, Netivot, and Ashkelon, all cities within in the South region impacted by the war. Maya worked for the Netivot municipality for 5 years prior to joining the Tzedek Centers and has extensive experience in community and business development. We also have Hagar. Hagar is the Partnerships Director for Tzedek Centers and the Hashomer HaTzair Life Movement. Hagar has studied sociology and anthropology in the Hebrew University and has years of experience teaching and working in organizations focusing on social change in Israeli society. And lastly, we have Bar. Bar is the Partnerships Director for the Tzedek Centers. Prior to moving back to her hometown of Jerusalem, Bar worked in community and electoral organizing in the U.S., experiences that she brings to her work at Tzedek Centers.
Gal. I'm the co-partnerships director of the Tzedek Centers, together with Bal, who is here, and also Fisherman Sair, but that's not what we're talking about today. We are going to start with a short clip about our work, and then we'll talk more. It's very short, so please.
Это окно, вы видите, вот через окно все видно здесь, как на ладонях. И кто-то и бегают, и говорят не на иврите, и не на русском. Вот так вот пробежал с повязкой на голове.
יצאנו עם פיג'מה, לא לקחתי כלום לילדים, נכנסנו במהירות לרכב. אני שמה את הילד בין 9 חודשים מתחת לכיסא שלי, ועליו את הילדה שלי, ואת 1 שנה ו9 חודשים, ואני מכסה אותם בגוף שלי, במושב הקדמי. אני מסתכלת על בעלי ואני אומרת לו, אתה נוסע? לא משנה מה, אתה נוסע. 7 לאוקטובר הגיע גם לאופקים, נכנסו מחבלים לשכונות ותיקות בעיר.
אנשים חוו טראומה מאוד משמעותית, הם ראו מהחלונות את המחבלים, שמעו את הירי, פחדו לצאת מהבית, לעשות קניות.
ב7 לאוקטובר, מרכזים לצדק חברתי הבינו שיש אנשים שיצטרכו כנראה להתפנות, והקימו טופס הרשמה למשפחות שרוצות לארח ולהתארח, ונרשמו אליו אלפי אנשים.
ארגון מרכזים לצדק חברתי זה ארגון שקיים כבר 8 שנים, וצבר ניסיון רב איך לארגן פלטפורמה לאנשים שרוצים לשנות משהו, ואכפת להם מהמדינה, מהבית שלהם. אני מאמין שניסיון הזה וכל הקשרים וידע שבנינו מול העיריות ועבודה בשטח, זה כן עזר לנו להתארגן כל כך מהר, וכבר בימים הראשונים של המלחמה הצלחנו להרים ולגייס מאות מתנדבים.
הלכנו לדרום וקיימנו ביקורים בשטח, ברשויות שבהם זיהינו שיש לנו משפחות, והבנו שהרבה תושבים נשארו, ומתוך השיח עם הגורמים בכל אחת מהרשויות הבנו שהרשויות האלה צריכות סיוע, לא במובן של נזקקות, אלא במובן של שותפות ארוכת טווח.
המרכזים לצדק חברתי יצרו קשר עם עיריית אופקים במטרה לייצר שיתופי פעולה שיתנו מענה מיידי, בסיסי, ראשוני לתושבים עצמם שנמצאים בשכונות.
מהר מאוד הבנו שמערך האירוחים יצטרך לתת מענה נוסף, והקמנו את מערך עזרה בדרך. מערך עזרה בדרך נתן מענה למשפחות שהיו במערך האירוחים, והיו בהם מתנדבים, שכל מתנדב קיבל משפחה, שהוא ליווה באופן אישי. ובנוסף, קם מערך מקביל שנותן את כל המענה גם של האירוחים וגם של עזרה בדרך לדוברי רוסית.
די קרוב הבנו שאנשים לא מוכנים לעזוב, שדוברי רוסית מעדיפים להישאר פה בדרום, בבתים שלהם. מהימים הראשונים של הפרויקט הבית חם, המתנדבים שלנו התחילו להגיע באופן קבוע פעמיים בשבוע לעיר שדרות, וכמובן גם מאוד השתדלנו להישאר בבית, לדבר עם משפחה ולהרגיע אותם ולתת להם תחושה שהם לא לבד.
הבנו שאנחנו רוצים להישאר פה, לא רק לחירום, אלא גם לשגרה, ולעשות מעשה שהוא ארוך טווח לשנים, ביחד עם הקהילה, ביחד עם העירייה ועם התושבים. והעתיד הוא בעצם לפתוח מרכז לצדק חברתי בכל אחת מהערים האלו.
הקמה של מרכז לצדק חברתי פה, באופקים, במקביל לקיומו של מרכז למיצוי זכויות, יאפשר בעצם מענה רוחבי לכל תושבי העיר.
Мы нуждаемся именно в тепле. Мы нуждаемся в контакте, чтобы не чувствовать себя одинокими. Нам очень нравится, что каждую неделю приезжает теплый дом и нам дает такую поддержку.
מבחינתי זו הייתה שליחות מאוד גדולה להיות במערך החירום. אני הרגשתי שזה ממש מה שאני צריכה לעשות עכשיו.
אני כן רואה שאנחנו עושים משהו טוב וחשוב להם, וזה כן מאוד מחזק אותי ונותן לי כוח להגיע לפה.
דווקא עכשיו הם צריכים אותנו, שאנחנו נגיע וניתן להם את המענה הזה, שיבינו שהם לא לבד, שיבינו שיש מי שדואג להם.
I guess the Tzedek Centers are a newer partner than Israel Hofsheet, so I think I'm going to first take time to kind of give you an overview, a brief overview of what we do in regular times. And then we'll talk a little bit about what we did on October 7th and in the months and weeks since. Maya will go more into depth about that after I finish. And in the end, Easy, our executive director, will also talk to you a bit about our theory of change and what we do, why we do what we do. So the Tzedek Centers is a nationwide organization, a grassroots organization that works to rebuild foundation for a vibrant democracy in Israel. We believe that democracy is something that needs to be practiced on a daily basis. It's not something that you reach at a certain point and it just ends there. And that in order to really promote the values of democracy and equality in Israel, we need to engage with people from the bottom up. We are spread across Israel. We have 12 and soon to be 18 centers that are opening, that will be open soon. And we work in very different and diverse cities around Israel. We have centers in cities such as Rishon LeZion, and Modi'in, Rosh Ha'ain, Harish. We have cities that are mixed cities that we work in, such as Ramle, Akko, Haifa, and soon we're going to have a center in Jerusalem. This year we're also opening 2 centers in Arab towns together with our partners from Al movement. They're going to be Majd al-Khum and Tamra. And we have 1 center at the moment, and soon to be more, that's specialized in working with the Russian-speaking population in Israel. This one is the one we have at the moment is in Bat Yam, and we'll have another one this year. And a center, basically, first and foremost, is a physical location in a city. It's not a project that is like a 3 months or a short-term project. When we open a center, it is there for the long term. It's a physical location that holds training programs for local activists and prominent figures within the city, working on common issues. Our training programs run 3 to 4 months. They're very intensive, and we give the activists the tool that they need to really effectively promote change that they want to see in their local municipality. Out of these training programs, they form action groups. They can be on any topic that the citizens bring themselves into the Tzedek Center, such as environmental issues, such as education, public transportation, religious pluralism, and we've already had more than 6,000 activists go through these training programs across Israel. Apart from the activists that participate directly in our programs, we've already reached over 250,000 people in our various national programs or in the local programs when we do public events and community events in the centers. The idea is that the center also serves the community place for people to come. That is something that you have here in the States, in the synagogue maybe, but for many secular Jews, there isn't such a place in the city that they can go to. And that is what the center is. So here you see the everyday life in the Tzedek Center. You see a roundtable event. Specifically, this one is about forming a youth center in the city of Modi'in or Rosh Ha'ain, sorry. This is one of our biggest conferences on the topic of shared society. And one of our prominent activists called Tina in Akko. Now we can move forward. We also do national campaigns encouraging civic engagement and political participations on various topics, ranging from protesting against gender-based violence, promoting equality and shared society. And one of our main programs is called Local Voice. That is a program that is specially targeting the local elections, which Uwe also mentioned is something that we work on together in some places, such as Rishon LeZion. What we do is we work on 2 or even 3 levels. One is we train people running for office, activists that went through our programs as local activists. We push them to run to office in the local elections for city councils and also for vice mayor and mayor positions. So we already had 120 we were supposed to have the elections in Israel, I'm sure you know, at the end of October. And we had 120 candidates running for office all across Israel. These are people that we don't endorse them, but they went through our training. And at the same time, we do voter turnout campaigns all across Israel, raising topics that are relevant to our view of how a city should look like. I think we can move the slide. Here you can see some of the things that we were doing just before October. We've been preparing for the local elections. We view them as the most important thing that really shapes our lives in Israel. Often people in Israel, when they think about politics or what affects their lives, they talk about the Knesset, they talk about the government, they talk about the national level, which is also very polarizing. And they don't take as seriously the municipal level, which actually affects most of the things in our lives. So here you can see a few of the activities that we were doing before October, preparing for the local elections. So yeah, we have the voter turnout campaigns, we had panels with different candidates in the various cities. Just in the far left corner, you see a panel in Modi'in, where the different people running for mayor had to vote on and declare their views on different topics. And if you can read the sign that they're like pointing for and against is about separate hours for men and women in the local pool. And you can see that 4 of the candidates voted against it and 2 voted for it. And so that is like just an example of how we try to bring into people's attention the important issues that come in the local arena. And because we've been working towards the elections for the past 5 years, when just before October 7th happened, we were at the very last stretch of this work, already spread across Israel, in our voting turnout campaign with hundreds of volunteers and also paid staff that was ready, to take the last few weeks of really intensive field work and grassroots organizing. And that is when October 7th met us. It affected each and every one, and I'm not gonna go over it because I'm sure you're familiar. But we very quickly realized that the fact that we are so spread out across Israel is an amazing position to be in to really form support and an extensive relief operations. We did 2 things on that very same day. At around 11 a.m. in the morning, we put out a form online, it was also mentioned in the movie, asking people from the south that wanted to evacuate and didn't have where to go to fill their details, and people all over Israel who had a place and an opportunity to accommodate also filled it out. And within hours, we had hundreds of responses to this form that we put out on social media and through various WhatsApp groups that we had all over the country. And that turned into a very, very, very expansive relief work that Maya will talk more about. The other thing that we did, and that evening, which is also very crazy to think about at the moment because it was such a crazy day, and I don't think even though it was a horrible day, we didn't even understand the extent of how horrible it was. But at that evening, at 9 p.m., Michal Sherez Shil'o, she's our Mixed Cities Department Director, she organized a Zoom call that had over 200 activists from different Shared Society organizations in Israel participating in. It was an emergency Zoom call ad hoc, in which all of these amazing activists, different organizations, also several philanthropy representatives came together to try to think together what we can do to prevent violence outbreaks within Israel. We were all very worried that we will see a repetition of what happened in May 2021. And out of this Zoom call formed a coalition between us, the Tzedek Centers, Givat Chaviva, and the Every initiatives that is still operating today to de-escalate the situation in the mixed cities and mixed regions across Israel, and had some very major successes. We don't claim all responsibility for the fact that nothing serious has happened, but we've been working very closely with mayors in the different areas, with the police, and with other civic society organizations to make sure that no violent outbreaks within Israel. I'm going to invite Maya now to talk more about our work in the South specifically. She's a department of our frontline cities, Ofakim, Ashkelon, and Netivot. Oh yeah, these are also, as Uli said, and I think it's true to any organization, a third of our staff was drafted into the reserves. And yeah, we were very lucky to be able to do the extent of the work we were doing, even though we were very short-staffed. So Maya, please.
Hi everyone, I'm really happy and honored to talk to you guys. As you heard, I am Maya. I'm a graduate of Sapir College, which is in Sderot, and I worked 5 years in the municipality of Netivot, so in different positions there. So that is where I'm coming from. And I came to work in the Tzedek centers during the time of the local elections. We did all kinds of activities all around Israel about the importance of voting. And I'm really, again, happy to be here and talk to you guys about it. Okay, so what happened is that we were all around, like it was in the video, and like Hagar said, October 7th found all of us kind of in shock, and we had this form. And like she said, we had hundreds of people that filmed that form. And from day-to-day, our organization superly grew with hundreds of volunteers that were a part of the emergency response. So it was really important for us to connect between families that wanted to host and evacuees. We had volunteers that did a specific match to every family as according to their specific needs. So that was really important for us to find that it's a good match to the families and to the evacuees. And later on, we understood that the families had more needs. They needed legal advice. They needed mental health references to social workers. They needed clothes. They needed food. So we had volunteers adopting families and having phone calls to these families that came through our data and helped every family and whatever need she had all around Israel. And then later on, we understood that a lot of the Russian-speaking communities, so they stayed back. Some of them stayed because it was really important for them. Some of them didn't get any benefits to evacuate. I would say more about that later on. Okay, do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm just really excited. So this is like a big overview. I'm gonna say more further on, but as you can see, we have here pictures from our headquarters where we had all our volunteers come. We have pictures of families that evacuated. We have a logistics center where we sent all our stuff. This is just like a big map to show you. And we had a booklet here, which I'll say more about, but it's a booklet that did a map of all these things that people could use in this kind of situation, about all the knowledge there is. So this is a picture. So what happened is that we decided to go to the south and talk to people. This is a picture from Ofakim. We went to a municipality there and we talked to the people in office there. And we tried to think with them together, how can we help them and what can we do and who is Tzedek Centers and why are we there? And it was really important for us so they would know and we could succeed in collaborating together and see how we could help the city of Ofakim and other cities, which I'll say more about, the people in Ofakim. And it was really important for us to come and see what the people need as according to their specific needs. As you know, we have in these cities of Ofakim and Ashkelon and Netivot, these are disadvantaged communities. These are people that are neglected for years after years. And I'll continue to say about that more. And this is pictures of us going to the south and talking to people that organizes private soup homes. They just organize it. So we connected the families that came through our data to these places. Okay, and this is a really personal story. So like I said before, I used to work in the municipality of Netivot, and Three weeks to the war, I suddenly get a call. I got a call from Michiel Zohar, which is the mayor of Netivot, and he asked me to come back to the city and do what I did before, help with the businesses. And I told him I'm kind of in the middle of organizing this national relief thing. I can't really come. And I told him about the Tzedek centers and what we do. And he asked me to come and talk to him about it and tell him what we do and see how we could collaborate. So this is a picture, as you can see, with Easy, our executive of the organization, and Michiel Zohar and me. And what we did is that we try to think of a specific model to build partnership with the municipality itself. That model would upgrade the resilience of the people. So what we discovered after talking with him and talking to more people about it, from the municipality like you saw in Ofakim, and later on we'll see from more places, is that we build a model where we as a Merkazim Tzedek Chevrati do with the municipality itself. We will have a project manager in every city, and this project manager will be a part of a certain department of the municipality itself, and will be a part of what the city needs now in emergency time. But this program is not just for emergency time. We want to take the tools we have at Tzedek centers of organizing society and communities, and building leadership and building resilience and building the community together with the municipality, with the city, with different communities in the city, with leaders from every neighborhood. So this is the model we invented together with them. And now we already have 3 project managers in every city. You saw in the video, you saw a guy with a kippah. Okay, so that is Ronen. He's a project manager in Ofakim. He already started to work as part of the municipality itself. And he's already meeting people and talking to them and trying to help them to get benefits from the country because what happened there. And another thing that was really important for us is because we had all this knowledge about organizations that help and about how to get legal advice. And like I said, we have big social workers that were doing calls to people that need it. It was really important for us to have this information go on. So this is a picture of us, Ella, our volunteer, and later on she was part of our staff. She did like a meeting with soldiers from Pikud HaOref, which I don't know if you know. Pikud HaOref are soldiers that meet society, and they talk to society and help them with shelters during this time and have like a hotline where people could call them. So we did a certain meeting with them, and she told them about all the tools that we have, and how you should have a conversation with a person in this kind of difficult situation. And I don't know if you know, but in Sderot we had 4,000 elderly Russian-speaking people that stayed and didn't want to leave the city. So it was really important for us to go and talk to these people and see how we could help them with their needs. A lot of the things weren't translated to Russian. So it was really important for us to see how we as an organization, like you saw Sasha in the video, he's the head of that department. We had hundreds of volunteers go and talk to elderly people on a daily basis, did activities for them, help them with medicine and food. So this is just to show you about that. Okay, so one thing that I just wanted to let you know, I don't know if you know about the 7-kilometer policy from Gaza. People know, don't know? Okay, so there's a policy in Israel which people that live further from the 7 kilometers of the Gaza Strip don't get any benefits. Okay, so if you live in a kibbutz or in a city which is in the 7 kilometers from the Gaza Strip, you do get benefits. You do get money to evacuate. You get all these things from the government. And we decided to focus on the cities of Netivot, Ofakim, and Ashkelon because we realized that in these cities we have communities that really needed us, that are not getting any government benefits, that cannot get money to evacuate. And this is a really, 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 really complicated situation. Just yesterday we had 50 rockets in Netivot, just in a small amount of time. It fell right close to where I worked. In Ashkelon we have 51% of the people that don't have a shelter. In Ofakim there was this horrible, horrible massacre just a few days before I was here. I saw the places where exactly the massacre happened. So this is a really complicated situation that these cities and these people in each and every one of these cities need to outcome and try to see how they build their communities back again. And without any government funding, this is really, really difficult. People are in high anxiety. They came back to work, they didn't come back to work. Some places do have kindergartens and schools, some don't. It's a really, really complicated atmosphere. And it was really, really important for us to see how we can help these communities with the skills and tools that we have and build the communities back again and build partnership with the municipalities and the leaders and the community themselves. And that's why it was really important for us that in every city of Ofakim, Ashkelon, and Netivot, we have a project manager that is from the city itself. He knows the city. And every project manager is really a part of building the next level of the city and the future of the city and building the resilience of the city. And it's really important for me to say that on my personal level, that because I lived there 5 years and I know the people, I talk with them on a daily basis, and I feel super honored and connected to be here and to talk to you about it, and I'm really thankful for that. And I just want to say that we're here for the long term. This is not just an emergency response. I've been 3 months not sleeping because this is what I feel obligated to do, and this is what Tzedek Centers came here to do, rebuild the communities and help the communities build their resilience back again together. Thank you.
Hi, so we're running out of time, so I'll just say a few words about myself. My name is Izzy. I established the first Tzedek Centers 8 years ago in Rehovot, and came to do it from the field of education. I was the manager of all the field organization of Shomer Hatziv, over 150 branches all over Israel. And I understand in order to deal with the big challenges that we have in Israel, we need to build an infrastructure in every city in Israel. So it's exciting for us to be in a point that we have soon 18 centers, but it's just not enough. We need to build 70 centers because we have 70 cities all across Israel. So I started the first center in Rehovot 2016. The same year my first daughter Bar was born. And we understand that we are now in an ongoing crisis in Israel, in every field of life. So we did so on October 7th, that civil society did function. We saw how municipality did function because they have the responsibility. And we need to prepare ourselves for the next challenges. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of challenges in the next few years. So once again, we want to thank you for the invitation, especially Yael. So we know her, and thanks a lot. Good luck. Q&A.
Questions for Tzedek Centers team? No other questions, and I'll have a
Very
question.
thorough.
Yeah.
I feel like I should wait for you.
You could just yell.
I'm just curious, I understand October 7th and post is different, but prior to that, are you politically party agnostic in terms of the political parties in Israel?
We're not connected to any political party. We're focused on our values of like democracy and equality. So, and we're on the local level. So, for example, with the candidates, they are in different parties. It's not like working with a specific party.
Thank you.
Good question. I was wondering if there are no questions, I have a question. If you could speak a little bit to the work that's being done in the big cities. Because that's kind of revolutionary.
So Yael, can you repeat what your question was?
My question was if Tzedek Centers can speak a little bit about the work that they're doing in mixed cities, which is revolutionary and exciting, and the partnership with Agio.
Hi. So the work.
Tell us your name again.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Bar. So the work in mixed cities, basically, regular times, these centers have two managers. There's one Arab Israeli manager and one Jewish Israeli manager. And we have the training courses, and from these we have the action groups. And they work on, and the idea behind it is that they work on shared issues in the city together. And this is what brings people together to better our shared future and our society. And during this war, we've had a lot of organizing to prevent outbreaks of violence, but also to hold down and maintain the fabric of our shared society, to maintain and to continue that into the future.
Maybe talk about the coalitions.
Yeah. So coming out of the video call that you saw on Zoom, and the collaboration with Givat Chaviva and Abraham Initiatives, now we have 11 coalitions in different mixed cities and regions. And these coalitions are bringing together the municipalities, the mayors, vice mayors, council members, people who work in the municipal offices, and also working with the police, and also with the different civil society initiatives. This was based off of a model that our center manager in Haifa started. The same night that there was that call, there was also a specific Haifa call. And in Haifa, they successfully worked together and developed the coalition, the base model that is now being applied in 11 different places across Israel.
What is the results of those coalitions or impact?
Yeah, so the results are really, really incredible. So in Haifa, one of the big things that was happening, as we know, is with the distribution of weapons. There was a lot of people who wanted to move around the city and do like standby squads, and one of the big things was ensuring that they had a relationship to the police, that they work under the police, and that they understand that that the police are in charge in the city, and there's not just militias that are private militias that are wandering around the city, as well as working to ensure that the public officials make proactive statements. So in Haifa, the mayor made a statement. As well as in Ramle Lod and Kharish. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Sorry, it's like in the middle of the night for us.
So it's just that when you have actual funding, what's your primary funding source, and are you?
Big bus.
That's a big. So our financial model works in a way that 3 years after we establish a Tzedek Center, almost 80% from these expenses comes from local authority support, also from government support, and from membership fees. One of the reasons that we're coming here to the States right now is in order to raise seed money to make this project, like Maya told us, in the south, and also a new Tzedek Center that we are now opening in Area, in our northern border, to make the seed money in order to make it like sustainable in 3 years from now. So this is our effort. We have a variety, a lot of partners, also for philanthropy, such as Yad Nadiv, UGA, Schusterman, and a lot of private donors. And as I said, we have already now we have 7 Tzedek centers with sustainable.
So when you say membership fees?
Yeah.
Is that the municipality pays the membership?
No, membership fees mean activists who pays like you, I guess.
To
pay.
train.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Good discussion. Yes.
I was just wondering how your organization is viewed by the very conservative government who's trying, when they hear democracy and other things that you're doing, just like your organization, how are you received by, because you said the government locally helps pay, but like the Knesset and Benjamin Netanyahu's organization, who's very much against a lot of the things that you're fighting for. So how are you seen by them, and how do they treat you, and what happens with that?
That's the last question for tonight, so final comments on this.
I think we are quite unique organization in Israel because our main focus is in the local arena. So a lot of the topics that we are fighting on Israel is actually not really relevant in the local arena, as the politics looks very different. And also we do receive money from the government because there are some funding that we are like a גרעינים תורניים. I don't know how to say it in English, like maybe Uri will know.
Intentional community.
What?
Intentional community.
Intentional community?
We just, there are some criterions that we are from different kind of ministry. We do get money, like religious groups do get money. So when we are doing like big campaigns across the country, because we do it, so we get backfire, but most of our work is doing in a local area. So this is why our activists don't look like a normal activist in Israel. They come from different cities, they come from different backgrounds, and we are doing it because we're looking for the next 5 or 10 years. We know that job will not be done in the next month, and we need to be ready for the next rounds.
It's great what you're doing. It's really great.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you to all of our speakers that came tonight, and I will end with a prayer for our hostages to come home, and I'll say that one thing that gives me strength on a personal level, strength and really energy to wake up in the morning and deal with the despair and the sadness is the good work that I know that I'm privileged to be a part of. So thank you again for giving us that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yael, again. Proud participant of Peoplehood, for those that are here, and also the chair of the Shared Society pillar within the IOAC. So there is a lot of opportunities to get engaged and to get involved. Thank you all for bringing this to us and for leading the torch. I want to also thank Penny Aarons, who can't be with us today. She had some personal stuff happening today, but she put all this together and spoke with everybody in Israel and really did a great job. So Penny, wherever you are, thank you. And last but not least, thank you to all of you for being here. The work that's being done in Israel can only happen because of the generosity of your time, your support, and all of us being here together. It's just the community that we're trying to build in times in which things are difficult and times in which things might be a little bit easier. Just coming together, having these conversations, and being very proud of the work that you do, because you are really there making Israel better every day. So thank you. We look forward to more opportunities to engage, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.